If you guys like minor keys or #1 issues, this may be the list for you. Welcome back to another video. This really popped when I saw it. That to me is a monster increase. Again, this book got hot. This book is ready to go higher.
So let's jump right into it.
We are back today with another statue review from Diamond Select Toys. Without further ado, let's get into the review. What is going on YouTube? This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles, and welcome back to the show. Today, of course, we have our Hot 10 breakdown of the week, where I give you the 10 hottest comics according to the Key Collector app, and we break them down together, and I tell you which I'd be buying, and of course, which I'd be staying away from. But before we get started in the video, like always, I want to remind you guys, we're almost at 6,000 subs. Don't forget to hit that sub button for me, smash that like button, and check out all the new merch I have for sale down below. You will not regret it. Now it's time for the Hot 10 breakdown of the week. Let's check it out. Starting it off this week and back on this list is a nice Bronze Age key. It is a copy of Tomb of Dracula #1 and the first appearance of Dracula in comics, and a CGC 8.0 just sold last week for only $540, up 3% over the average. We also had a CGC 6.0 sale for $340, up 8% over that average. Then we had a CGC, a 5.0, a mid-grade copy of this book for only $295, up 18% over the average. This book was on the list about 6 to 7 months ago when there was speculation that Dracula could appear in the Werewolf by Night series. It didn't happen, and this book really hasn't dropped much since. Back on the list, heating up again. Am I buying this Bronze Age key right now? Probably not. It's still going for a decent price. If I am going to buy it, I want to own it in higher grade, probably for an 8.0 or higher. A great key. I love old monster keys, especially from the Bronze Age. Regardless, right now I don't think it's the best time to be buying this book. Falling one spot this week to the 9 hole is a copy of Watchmen #1 and the first appearance of the Watchmen, and a CGC 9.8 just sold last week for $664, up 2% over the average. I told you guys this last week. I love this book and the whole series. It's a phenomenal read, but I don't want to spend the kind of money it's going for to get them all in a 9.8, and that's what I'd really want to do if I was going to buy the single issues. If you could find an omnibus, a reader out there, something just to have this story in your collection, I think it's worth it. Other than that, I'd probably be staying away from the single issues unless you buy dirt cheap copies in lower grade. Falling all the way from #1 down to the 8th spot this week is a copy of What Else? Wolverine #1, this classic cover by the great Frank Miller. And we had a CGC 9.6 sell last week for $323, up an insane 20% over the average. We also had a CGC 9.4 sale for $235, up again an insane 25% over the average. I cannot believe this book is still on this list. People are still buying it, driving up the price even further. I know it's the next best issue after Hulk 181 and 180. Regardless, I don't want to spend anywhere near this book is going for right now just to own it. Stay away from this one. It's about time we got it off the list. At the 7th spot this week, finally a new book. It is a copy of Moon Knight #1 and the first ongoing Moon Knight series and the origin of Moon Knight, and a CGC 9.8 just sold last week for $375, up 8% over the average. Remember when all that Moon Knight hype hit? This book was absolutely going nuts, probably close to about $500 to $700 in a 9.8. Back down at a reasonable price around $375, but to me, if you're going to own this book, I don't want to spend more than $50 just to own it, just to have it in the collection, and that's only if you're a big Moon Knight fan, which I am not, so I'm giving it a thumbs down. I don't want to spend the money. If I'm going to put money to a Moon Knight book, I want to own Werewolf by Night #32, his first appearance. Coming in at number 6 is another new book to this list. It is a copy of Godzilla #1 and the first ongoing Godzilla series published for the US market. I gotta tell you, I was a huge Godzilla fan growing up as a kid. I used to watch those old black and white shows that were made back in Japan. Regardless, guys, we had a CGC 9.8 sell last week for $425, up $1. That's right, you heard it right. $1 over the average. So why the hell is this book at the 6th spot if it's only up $1 in a 9.8? I have no idea. Either way, I'm a big Godzilla fan, and I still don't want to own this book, even in a 9.8. To me, it is not worth it. A lot of minor keys, a lot of number one issues are on these lists. People are snatching them up because they feel like they don't want to go ahead and spend the money on their bigger books right now because they're dropping like hot flies. I'd still rather own the big books, the big Silver Age keys, even the minor Silver Age keys. I still rather own them over this one. Speaking of Silver Age keys, at the 5 spot this week is a copy of Conan the Barbarian #1 and the first appearance of Conan the Barbarian. And we had a CGC 8.5 sell last week for $680, up 10% over the average. Then we also had a CGC 7.0 sale for $550, up an insane 42% over the average. Then a CGC 4.5 sale for only $285, up 23% over the average. I'm finally happy to see this book be back on this list. I do enjoy Conan the Barbarian, not one of my favorite Marvel characters, but again, a Silver Age key. If I'm going to go out and buy minor first appearances like this one, I'd definitely be buying silver over bronze. Keep that in mind. And I still think this book is pretty cheap in my opinion. I'd definitely be going out and picking this one up if you're a Conan fan. At number 4 on this list, how about some 1980s nostalgia? It is a copy of G.I. Joe Real American #1 and the first team appearance of G.I. Joe. And we had a CGC 9.6 newsstand copy sell last week for $505, up an insane 38% over the average. Then we had a CGC 9.2 newsstand copy sell for $195, up 4% over the average. I know a lot of people out there are a big fan of newsstands and collecting them. Me, I am just not into it. I don't want to spend extra money if I don't have to. I know the rarity factor can push up the price in some of these books, but to me, if you want to own the book, it has nothing to do with newsstand, not a newsstand, just own the book because you want to own it. I don't want to own G.I. Joe #1. I know at one point, about 2 years ago, this book was absolutely astronomical and high grade. I'm happy to see it more at an affordable price, but either way, to me, I'm still staying away. At the 3 spot this weekend, still on this list and still holding strong, it is a copy of New Mutants '98 and the first appearance of our favorite Merc with the Mouth, Deadpool, and a CGC 9.8 just sold last week for $1,721, up 13% over the average. Then we also had a CGC 9.8 newsstand copy sell for $2,875, up 3% over the average. I've been saying this since day one. I want to own this book. I do. I just have to wait for it to hit under $1,500, and I will buy it in a 9.8 white pages. And if I can get one with that awesome Deadpool label, they're super rare, I'd be jumping on it. Until then, I'm staying away from this book, especially with the movie coming out, but I'm really looking forward to seeing Ryan Reynolds back in this character. Coming in at number 2 this week, and again, another book I have no idea why it's on this list. It is a copy of Amazing Spider-Man number 361 and the first appearance of Carnage, and a CGC 9.8 newsstand copy sold last week for $625, up 6% over the average. Remember when Venom 2 came out, everybody was buying this book hand over fist. It drove up the price, but they forgot there's about 10 million copies out there that you could have bought, so the price dropped right back down maybe about 6 months later. Maybe because the movie wasn't that great either. Regardless, guys, I'm not spending anywhere near $700 for a 9.8 newsstand copy. I wouldn't even pay $200 for a 9.8 direct edition. To me, it's too much money to spend for a book that has about 10 million copies out there. I'd be staying away. I enjoy the character, but nowhere at this price. And finally, at the top spot this week and reclaiming its throne, it is a copy of Uncanny X-Men number 130 and the first appearance of the Dazzler. This is also the second appearance of Kitty Pryde and Emma Frost. And a CGC 9.8 just sold last week for $1,550, up 18% over the average. Then we had a CGC 9.6 sale for $465, up 14% over the average. Then we had a CGC 9.4 for $315, up 15% over the average. I'm glad to see this book got back to the top spot. However, I'm not glad to see this book keep going up in price. I'm not spending $300, even though the book is a 9.4. I'd rather own an 8.0, 8.5, or possibly a 9.0, 9.2 for around $100 to $150. That's all I'm willing to spend. Other than that, unless you're a crazy X-Men fan and you want super high grade copies, I'd be staying away. That's it for the list this week, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. Again, what I'm noticing is there are a lot of #1 issues, a lot of classic covers, and a lot of bronze and copper keys appearing on this list. Not too much silver. Silver is really taking a beating, but when things take a beating, if you're a long-term holder like I am, that's what I'd be snatching up over these books. Regardless, it is now time for my best buy of the week. Since I only gave one book a thumbs up, I'm going with that one. It is a copy of Conan the Barbarian #1. Cool character. Everyone knows who Conan is, and I think over the test of time, this book will keep going up. Great cover to boot. I love the brown cover on this one. Not too many people talk about it, but either way, that is my best buy. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles saying thank you for watching, and I will talk to you guys soon.